Hey there, welcome to another episode here at the Hidden Why podcast. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a fantastic week. This is episode 1149, a really timely interview today. Dr. Mike Ronsisvalle. We talk about LiveWell Coaching. We talk about stress, anxiety, depression. We talk about why this is such a crisis in the world today, mental health crisis, right? It exists, we're seeing it. And he shares some stats behind all that as well. The why, in his opinion, as to why it has escalated in modern day society today, and how we can combat it. Obviously, we can't get rid of our phones. Technology's here to stay. The structural change of society and families is certainly a pretty significant cause to the mental health crisis that we're seeing. So we discuss all that. Really important discussion in my opinion. And Mike also shares some tools, I guess, some things that we can do to help bring more awareness and bring more presence into our life so that we can combat the downsides or effects that such technologies, etc., can have in our personal lives and overall well-being. Mike is a clinical psychologist. He's got a number of clinics in the US, and he's just developed a platform called LiveWell Coaching, where they have over 35 hours of clinical experience and shares and practical takeaways that people can delve into without having to go to a clinic. So a very useful platform indeed, in my opinion. Would love your thoughts. Check it out. Have a listen to the episode. We'll touch base at the other end. You can always check out the show notes and links to Mike as well by heading on over to thehiddenwhy.com. And I really hope you get something out of this interview. Thanks for tuning in and have a great day. G'day, Mike, and welcome to the Hidden Why podcast. Great to have you here.
Lee, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Looks like you've been out for a jog.
Believe it or not, man, I live in Florida and it's usually perfect here in February, but today is a little cold. I had to throw a hoodie on.
Is that
So,
right? Okay.
yeah.
And I love the cold. Well, welcome to the show, mate. We've got a lot of things to discuss, and mostly around your work, right? So you're a clinical psychologist, and you've just developed a new app, would you call it, or a platform,
Yes.
to make this content more available to everyone. Um, and in our pre-conversation there, you sort of mentioned the mental health epidemic. Like there's a big problem. It's a growing issue. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Well, I can tell you, Lee, this world that we're living in is getting harder and harder, and people are struggling in ways that I've never seen. I've been at this for a long time. I added it up with my wife a few days ago, and I think I've got close to 35,000 hours of face-to-face time with people. It's a lot of time, man, that I've spent just working with people in our clinics. And I
35,000
can tell
hours.
35,000 hours, man.
How
That's
long have you been doing this
I
for?
20, 22 years, something like that.
Yeah.
I worked a lot with people face to face when I first started. I don't do as much of that the last few years as our clinics have grown, but it's clear to me that the crisis that everyone talks about, the mental health crisis, is 1000% real. I mean, we're seeing things in our clinics that it would have been absolute, absolutely shocking for me to see 20 years ago when I first started. Just the
Okay.
level of depression, anxiety, stress, burnout, addiction. I mean, the acuity is off the hook. And so that puts our field in such a weird position because, man, it's like you're drinking through a fire hydrant. There's more people that need help than we could
Mm.
ever begin to see face to face.
It's interesting. And I often ask this question, but I mean, obviously you've been doing it for a while and you've seen that transition yourself, in real life.
Yeah.
Um, is it because we are more conscious of it and more aware of it that you see more patients, or is it actually a reality that people are more depressed and more stressed and more anxious?
Okay. Great question, actually. I think the answer is yes to both of your questions. I think the reality is, yeah, we are more aware of it. We talk about it more. It's been a topic of conversation on social media, on more traditional media. And so just the awareness, just the idea of understanding what depression is or understanding what anxiety is, it makes sense that that increases the number of people that would endorse the idea of, yeah, hey, that's me. I'm depressed or I'm anxious or I'm
Mm.
addicted, whatever. However, that's not the whole answer
Yeah.
because while the number of people that are struggling has increased, the acuity of the people that are struggling is exponential, man. And what I mean by that is the
Mm.
severity, like frequency, time, duration, how long this stuff lasts, how intense it is. We've never seen anything like it. We have kids, Lee, that are coming through our clinics that years ago, when I first started, it would have been, I guess, pretty unusual for us to have a kid come in, like a 12-year-old kid who's suicidal and coming out of the hospital. It happened, obviously, but it'd be rare. Now
Well, mm.
it is standard fare. We do intensive programming at our
Yeah.
offices, and we'll have sometimes 30, 40 kids at one time that have all just been released from Baker Acts. That's what we call like the crisis stabilization here in Florida. And kids that are literally just don't want to live. And that's not normal. Like that
No.
is something that's distinctly different. It has escalated for the past decade or so. If you look at the data, and we thought after COVID, okay, we're kind of seeing everything amp up because we've had this weird dynamic with this virus and people were feeling like it was life and death and it was scary. But after this is over, of course, we'll see the rate and incident of depression, anxiety, suicidality, self-injury, addiction. That'll all go down. And man, we have seen the opposite year over year. It continues to get worse and worse. And this is, again,
And
the
certainly
number of,
noticeable since COVID that you've seen, but the lead up to COVID, you saw that as well, the trends
it had
escalating.
already, it had already started
Yeah.
leading
Huh?
up to COVID. Yeah. But we've seen an escalation since COVID. Rather than it just go down, we've seen it tick up and it's surprised people
Mm.
that honestly doesn't really surprise me when we look at our world. I mean, in some ways I get it and I understand it,
Yeah.
but it's a crisis. It is real. As a
Interesting.
guy who's in the trenches and been doing this work for a long time, things are bad.
Have you got figures, like American-based figures on mental health, depression, things like that that you could share?
I've got some. Yeah, let me see if I
Let's see if you
can
can pull them
get
out, like on the spot.
yeah, pull them out of my memory banks here. I know some of the stats are just shocking. Like for instance, 40% of our teenagers that are in high school have considered suicide in the past year. That's
40%.
a that's a nutso figure, Lee. I mean, how in the world
I mean,
are
how would
we at
that
a
compare to
place?
20 years ago?
Oh, that number I don't have that figure, but
Yeah.
anecdotally, I can tell you, I would
It's
think that number would
skyrocketed.
be like 15%, like 10%,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
So the way we're processing information, the reactivity of our culture, the emotional dysregulation of our culture is astounding. And I think that's the core of the issue. So you've got 40% of kids that are considering suicide. You've got 20% of the US population that is on an SSRI
What's an
medicine.
SSRI?
An SSRI, that's an antidepressant, but they use it a lot for
Uh-huh.
anxiety as well. So this would be things like Prozac, Lexapro, Zoloft, some of your standard
So what did you say?
antidepressant
40%?
Medicaid. 20% of the population is on the medicine right now
In America.
in America. I
Hmm.
mean, it's wild. So I
Yeah.
talk to people here. I'll do presentations or speak at some event, and I say, go to the mall, pass by, you know, 10 people, two of them are on, like currently, right here, right now, on an antidepressant.
Yeah.
Passed by 100 people, 20%. That's not lifetime use. That's not like here's the 20% over the course of their life will be on medicine. That's like right here, right now. So what about all the people that have depression or anxiety or stress or burnout, but it's not severe enough to go on medication, but they still have the symptoms? What about the people that it's plenty severe enough, but they've just not gone to the doctor to get the medication? It's untreated.
Mm.
It's these are scary numbers, man.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just in our field, I know that we're scrambling, trying to figure out, okay, what do we do to address this? And how do we make mental health and the coping skills for mental health issues accessible to everyone? Because that's going to
Mm.
have to be the plan going forward. We're going to have to figure out how we prevent these problems before they ever start.
Well, it's a changing world, right? So it seems to be like more commonplace. And
Yeah.
so we need to start educating from a very young age these coping mechanisms
Yep.
to help
Yeah.
people. And I don't think they, well, from my perspective here in Australia, at least, it's not done.
I think there's some reasons.
Mm.
I mean,
What's the
I
reasons?
believe there's a reason that we're struggling.
Oh, right. Why this is happening?
Yeah, I think there's some explanations that if we could start to address that, then we're getting ahead of it, right? But what we would have to get ahead of is it's very complicated. So number one, I think in our country, and I believe in Australia as well, there's
Very similar.
there's a significant breakdown in the way we do family in the family unit. And there's a bunch of data on the value of good, solid, healthy family life for kids growing up. Just having stable people in your life that you know care about you and they're invested in you and they're with you and they're for you, it makes a massive difference in a person's
Mm.
life. And
Mm.
you can see as the culture has treated family differently, and people start to work more and people get busy, and it the less time we've spent investing in our family and connecting to our family and appreciating our family, the less healthy we are. And for us, it's not uncommon at all for kids to grow up. They go away to college, and they move to a different state to get a job, and then they move from there, and then they're so transient, and everyone's moving all around, and that's fine, and I get that, and I'm not criticizing that. People have to follow their dreams. You got to go where you feel called to go, and I'm a big fan of that. But what
Yeah.
it does is it sort of minimizes the connections that we have to these people that are ultimately the foundation of who we are. They're
Yeah.
literally, we share DNA with them, and
Mm.
if you look back 100 years ago, it's not how it was at all. Like you grew up in a town and you connected with your family, you felt that stability, there was accountability there was encouragement, there was affirmation, and you probably stayed right in town when you got
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
job. And
Yeah.
then you
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
your kids, and your
100%.
kids knew their grandparents, and kids knew their great grandparents. And man, the way we're living is just different. So I think
Well,
that
that
has
that level of
dramatically impacted.
connection as relates to our psychological safety, right, is is fundamental for the human condition, but we've
What a
just lost
great
it.
what a great way to say that, man. That's a great way, like just the safety of our family, the emotional safety of our family. That's a
I've seen it personally in my life that disconnect. I was never a religious person, so I never went to church weekly, but I know religion has a big part to play in connection and bringing people together, and I value it for that. I
yeah.
look back to, I look at family from my perspective, and growing up, there was two TV channels, and that's when TV came in, and TV disrupted the household a bit too. But we were still there
Yeah.
together watching those particular
Yeah.
shows, and now. We still try and watch TV with my kids, but they've got iPads and devices and everyone's doing their own things. And how many times do you walk into a living room and you'll see everyone on their own devices watching the TV? Like, I mean, that's a change in how we do things, and it really is pulling us apart.
Well, you're way ahead of me, Lee, because so my first idea regarding why we have this crisis going on is the breakdown of the family. But
Mm,
the second piece that is so obvious is technology has shifted everything about the way we do life. And these devices that we love, I laugh because I love my phone, man. Like I'm obsessed with it. It's ridiculous. I know it's unhealthy. I know it's bad for me. I know social media is like not great yet. Man, I find myself just sometimes sitting, I'm just doom scrolling on that phone and I can get caught in videos or YouTube, and it impacts our brain in very significant ways. So
mm,
think about it like this. You're a kid, your brain is developing, you're trying to learn how to feel safe, to use your word, right? That's part of becoming an adult, is growing up and feeling like, okay, I'm competent, I'm confident, I can act on this world and get some things done. And simultaneously, you're bombarded with these devices that, in many ways, put your brain into a state of fear threat mode. So if you think about a phone, let's take videos for instance, like the short form video.
mm.
Every time you scroll, your brain gets a hit of dopamine, and they've measured this in research labs and studies for years now. Every time you kick a new video on, boom, there's a hit of dopamine. Dopamine's the feel good chemical. Some of the newer platforms like TikTok, if you recognize the way they edit their videos, it's very, very different because they have like this very quick edit. I can't even really mimic it, but they slice together um, the words that people are saying in a way that every once in a while it's just like a little cut. I don't know if you can see that in the way I'm
Right.
moving right now.
Yeah.
That is a TikTok video. That's how they do them. That's how the ones that go viral on TikToks are the ones that have the most edits. Well, every time there's a little shift, just a little turn in the edit, in the person's face, in their body
I never
posture,
knew that. Yeah, wow.
it's more dopamine. It's more dopamine. Your brain gets conditioned, it gets activated, it's stimulated, and that's all great. We're very smart. We're probably smarter now than we were 25, 35 years ago. Like our kids' brains are just exploding with knowledge, but they're also in a state of high alert because while it does release dopamine, it
Yeah.
also is a fear state. Like think about like what it feels like to have your brain, which your brain thrives on consistency, like stability, like that. We crave homeostasis. We know this. Every organism does. So like we thrive in like stability. And then you have this technology that's constantly moving, constantly giving you stimulating your brain.
Mm,
That in and of itself puts you in a state of fight or flight. So we crave these things because they give us dopamine, yet it puts us in fight or flight mode.
yeah.
Well, fight or flight mode that's where anxiety lives in the brain.
Yeah.
That's where depression lives in the brain. So it makes perfect sense that the more technology has become prominent in our life, the more we're connected to social media and all these things that are constantly coming at us, the more unhealthy our brains have gotten, the more depressed, anxious, stressed, and addicted we are.
Yeah. Yeah. To reverse that.
Easy, right? Yeah, I think the only way to reverse it is to be intentional. It's super hard with something that's addictive.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
telling someone that's
Well, someone
addicted
so
to
aware
alcohol.
about it like yourself, even, admitting that, you jump on there and sometimes you're doing that, myself included.
Yeah,
I guess having that level of awareness, I'm more intentful about how I use it and telling myself off when I'm picking it up for no reason at all.
yeah,
But a lot of people
yeah,
aren't and don't have those tools.
yeah. So you and I have all this information and we still struggle. What about the people that don't have
Don't.
any of the
Mm,
information and they're
mm.
just obsessed with it? That's where our
Yeah.
kids are. Our kids, they don't have frontal lobes, man. Their frontal lobes aren't developed fully until they're now it's like 25.
It's
Frontal lobe is
interesting how
judgment,
it's such a
reasoning.
powerful, like the device, the phone, how powerful that addiction is. Like you compare it to, I don't know, taking drugs or something like that. A lot of people have taken drugs and they're not drug addicts. they do it a couple of times,
Yeah.
have fun, they don't do it again.
Yeah.
Phones, like pretty much everyone's.
Yeah, but I think that's part of how we structured our culture that makes it a lot more difficult though, because if someone does cocaine a couple times at the bars when they're 25 and then they don't go back to the bars, they're probably not around a bunch of cocaine anymore. It's easier to stop,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Technology is
We
it's
use that
part
tool.
of how we live.
Mm.
Yeah. Like, can you leave home without your phone? I
No,
can't leave home without my phone
it
because if
starts
I
my car
do,
nowadays.
well, exactly. Exactly. Like we're so conditioned for it. It's like, one of the hardest things to treat is an eating disorder. You know why? It's an addiction. It's an
Hmm.
addiction to either weight or body image or food, but you can't cut it out of your life. An alcoholic can quit drinking. A drug addict can quit doing drugs. Someone with an eating disorder can't quit eating. You have to like figure out how to moderate. I've got to eat, but I've got to do it in a healthy way. Yet I've got all these neural pathways of addiction in my brain. That's exactly what we're dealing with technology. None of us can live without it. You can't live in this world unless you just go off grid without dealing with it. So it takes a ton of discipline to be able to say, okay, I'm going to use this and I'm going to use it for with powers of good,
Yeah.
but I'm going to also make sure that I don't get stuck in these negative patterns. Very, very difficult.
Yeah. And what about I guess, the consequence of using it or the pain associated with using it? We talk about fight or flight, sort of gets us in that state of anxiety, but
Hmm.
like drinking or taking drugs or some of those other things you might do, have a more noticeable consequence. Whereas technology, I don't know, like I certainly have felt it where I've, had times where I've just been on it and I feel that level of anxiety increase, in awareness, but most people wouldn't notice that sort of thing as much.
Well, I don't think they do. And I don't think they notice because we've normalized it so much. To your
Mm,
point, you walk in an average living room and you can have 4 or 5 people sitting in the same room and they're encapsulated in their device and we kind of normalize that. Go to a restaurant. I love it, man.
yeah.
I'll laugh my head off with my wife. I'm like, look around. Like you've got all these families sitting at tables in restaurants, all looking at their phone. Like and
Mm,
you've got this crazy cool opportunity, especially as a parent. Like the adults in the room need to stand up and do this differently, right? But as a parent, it's like, man, we've got to put our phone down, look at our kids and like
yeah.
start to take an interest in them. And we just don't. We're just so stuck, man. We're just craving the dissociation of all that dopamine. It's really, really cheap dopamine. And I tell you what, cheap dopamine never works out well. Ask alcoholics and drug addicts. That's cheap dopamine too. Usually doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, there is a big issue. We're obviously aware of it here. How do we start to tackle that? I mean, we can't go around and change the way society's set up now. Around families and relationships, I look at divorce rates and things like that too, and that's a big part of it. We're all so
Yeah.
busy, we all have to work, and that's created, more separation in the family units, and obviously that has an
Hmm.
impact on the kids. And then technology gets involved in that as well. It all works together, um, and it doesn't work at all. I
Yeah.
mean, we can't change. I don't think we can, you can't take away the phone now. All we can do is put in some tools and coping mechanisms to help us manage that potentially.
I think it's a thing of intention.
Hmm.
We're not good at it, right? Just in our culture, we're not good at intention. Most of us run around with our hair on fire, going from next emergency to the next emergency.
Mm.
Go to work, drop the kids off at practice, go pick them up, cook dinner, collapse in bed, wake up the next day, do it all over again. That's how we're living right now. And unfortunately, when you're that stretched with such little margin, it's hard to step back and say, okay, what's healthy?
Yeah. Where do
But
you
that's
find the time?
exactly what we've got to do, right? Like we have to
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, what is my value system? Let me develop my value system. Let me be intentional about what my value system is. And then I'm just going to make sure that I have some committed actions that define my life that flow directly out of that value system. That's the only way we're going to get better culturally.
Yep.
And we've
Yep.
lost that, man. We've lost all sense of an anchor. We've lost the ability to grab onto what we truly value and to act out of those values. That's the sad part. That might be the actual issue. The actual issue might be that we've lost an anchor point of a positive, healthy value system culturally. And then that drives the problems with the family. And then that drives all the
Well, that's
technology and our
right. It
inability to
stems all
manage
from
it.
there. Mm.
Yeah.
When you talk about value systems, what are you talking about there? Like you're talking about analyzing your personal values around, I value family or money or success.
I think, yeah, it's how you define what's important in life. Like what is the value system that you bring to your
Mm.
day, minute by minute, moment by moment? What are your guiding
What's important to
principles?
you?
What makes you acceptable, worthwhile, significant, valuable, lovable? Like what kind of person do I want to be?
Mm.
Now we live in a culture right now where we we kind of define ourselves in terms of things that literally don't matter. There's
Yep.
so many people that are, over concerned about whether or not they have the right shoes or the designer clothes or the cool haircut. And social media has been a part of that, just all the exposure
Yep.
to stuff. But man, none of that matters. The only thing that ultimately should matter to us is at the end of the day, what have we based our life in? Another way to think about it is at the end of my life, what's actually gonna matter? Who's gonna care
Mm.
about what car we drove or how big our house was or what kind of job we had? Or no, they've done this. Actually, some of the research was done in Australia by a lady that sat with people as a
Yeah.
hospice nurse in their dying days. You're familiar with this
And
work,
body
right?
wear. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how powerful is that for her to sit with people? No one was talking about, man, I wish I would have worked more.
Mm.
No one said on their last breath, man, I wish I would have got the promotion
Yeah.
or I
Yeah.
wish I could have, had a cooler car. It's so lame when you think about it in this frame. What they
Mm.
care about is did I did I leave a legacy? Did I have a connection with my family? Did I leave kind of a connection to my kids that they think I'm a good man or a good woman, that I have a good heart? Like those things are what matter,
Yep. Yep.
but we've lost all of it. So when I say value system, I'm
Yeah.
saying people need to intentionally step back and say, what qualities do I want to bring to the table in this world? What do I stand for?
Mm.
Even if it costs me something, what do I stand for? Things like compassion and integrity and character and curiosity and faith and hope and joy. Like that stuff matters, man.
Yep.
And
Yep.
if we can build our life on that foundation and say, okay, I can't predict what's going to happen next hour or tomorrow or next week, but I know right here, right now, I'm going to do everything I can to just do things that are consistent with what I value. That would probably bring about a big shift in most of your viewers' lives. I
Yep.
guarantee you, man. If people
Mm.
got serious about that, it would probably change a lot of the decisions that they make every day.
Yeah. 100%. And that's practice too. It's like working out, you can't just do it a couple of days and hope that it sticks. You really got to connect with those values every day and be intentional every day. And then that'll help your decision making process, right? So when you're about to do something, you go, well, hang on, is this actually really important to me? Or am I doing it for some other reason? You create that awareness.
I think you're exactly right, man. I think that it's stepping back to say, okay, how do I allow myself to minute by minute, moment by moment, connect to things that matter, and to do it even when it's hard, to do it even if it's uncomfortable, to do it even if it makes other people uncomfortable, to do it even when I'd rather be doing something else.
Mm.
And those are the things we're not good at. That every point I just made there, like we're not good at discomfort.
Yep.
We don't like it. 50 years ago, people were much better at discomfort. 150 years ago, people were way better at discomfort. I mean, you think about it, like that life wasn't a
No, yeah, it's crazy
box of
change, hey?
chocolate by
And
any,
in a
yeah,
very, very short period of time, we haven't been able to develop our brains to keep up with the massive change that we've experienced.
yeah, you're right, man. I think there's, yes, right now we just have these weird expectations. I think the expectation for people is that they're going to live a comfortable life. And anytime we get uncomfortable or we hear something uncomfortable or we hear something challenging or we fail, it's almost like this massive, massive problem. Like, I can't stand this. This is horrible. When the truth is that's just life.
Yeah.
Life is hard sometimes, but
Yeah,
we're
you think
just,
about all the comforts, but we're so used to now, but they're actually causing us a lot of discomfort, right? Because depression is through the roof, anxiety is through the roof.
yeah.
So we don't look at it from that perspective.
Well, it's like the very things that we attach to that are supposed to make us so much better. This technology that's supposed to be the answer to all of our problems is the very thing that ends up burning us.
Mm.
It's moderation. I think everything's like that. I actually don't think technology is bad. I think the way we use it is bad, but technology is not inherently evil. It's good. It's
Yeah.
just that we've used it in such an unhealthy way that it does end up being really toxic. But the
Mm.
things that make us happy, the things that make us joyful, the things that help us feel hope about the future, those are things that are universal and that have been around for thousands of years.
Mm.
Like watch a sunset, man. That like that sense of awe, like the awe experience, like I'm a part of something bigger, that that universally brings
Mm.
joy in a
Yeah.
person's life. And you can't do that when you're stuck on a screen.
Yeah. Yeah. Then to get people to move away from that and be able to focus more on their values and bring that intention into their life, you'll get the conflict because, well, I've got to work, I've got to go to this job, I don't like this job, but I've got to do it, otherwise I can't pay the bills and yada yada yada, and the list goes on. How do we tackle that? Because I mean, that's the reality of how society's set up now. Like, I look at it, the family construct, and I go, okay, well. Back in the day, it was mum stayed at home, dad went to work, and it
Hmm.
worked, Maybe it wasn't fair necessarily, I don't know, but now we have to
Yeah.
have two parents to work to afford to pay the mortgage.
I don't, it's not lost on me, man. I agree
Mm.
with you. I think that the world is more complicated than it's ever been. I think the expectations are higher than they've ever been. I think the pressures are more intense than they've ever been. And that's
Yeah.
across the board, right?
Mm.
But I don't think that you have to have sweeping change in order for you to begin to experience the byproduct of healthy choices.
Yeah.
Like you can start small as long as you commit to a vision. Like real change, you need to have a vision of what it could look like. If I if I do things right, if I do them in a healthy way, I will arrive at this moment where I feel like I've made progress. The example that I use is
Yeah.
working out.
Yeah.
Like I'm 1,000% confident that if your viewers said, "Man, if I work out for a year, 5 times a week, at the end of that year, I will feel better. I will look different. I will be healthier." And they could attach to those goals and they move towards those goals. Does that mean that the first day that they start working out, they feel better, look better, and are healthier? No, you
Mm.
probably feel like
Mm.
crap, right? Like that. But the first day you work out's not a good day, but you've got to attach to like, okay, I
The
know
longer
what's
term.
coming
Mm.
next. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like over time, if I just do the healthy things, do the next
Yeah.
healthy thing, do the next healthy thing, the end result is you start to feel differently. You start to feel better. And I
Mm.
think that's how we've got to approach this
That
is
connection is so,
recognize,
so important, right? Like it is having that long-term vision. Our governments don't have long-term vision.
oh, geez, man, that's a,
But anyway, going
that's,
off topic.
that's a conversation. I mean, that's a huge, and it's
I,
probably part of it, honestly.
I did it recently, right? So I'm a very busy ADHD sort of person. I love doing things and I'm a visionary.
Good.
And it just came to my attention recently because I've got good intent. I feel like I've got good intent and good awareness, but I didn't have this attachment to this. Okay, where am I actually taking this? Like, what's this business for? What's this podcast for? Where do I actually want to see this go? And it was just refreshed to me last year, late last year, and I started to work on that again, a vision board and things like that. And that
Mhm.
connection made a drastic difference immediately in my life.
I, you're smart, Lee, because even the idea of a vision board, because it's tangible, you can look at it, you can touch it, you can feel it. It feels real, when you even writing something down. Like if,
Mm,
if you don't have the time to make a vision board like Lee and you're watching this, get a piece of paper out and just write down some goals. Write down like your values, just get some things out of your head down on paper. And the research on this is very, very clear. It works. Like people
yeah.
that write things down, our brain process it that different. That information is sort of managed different neurologically, and it begins to feel more real.
100%. What are some of the coping mechanisms? I want to talk and I want to wrap it up with some tools you could share with the audience to help them start navigating this field.
Yeah. So what I can say is we started talking about the mental health crisis,
Yeah.
the increase in anxiety, depression, addiction, things like that. We kind of moved into how our culture is part of the problem. Like our culture's driving this.
Mhm.
And we're all kind of victims of the world that we're living in right now and the demanding nature of it. And your question is, what do we do? Like practically, if we want to break free from the mental health issues like depression, anxiety, and addiction. And we want to begin to attach to a value system and we want to have some committed actions that flow out of those values. How do we do that? Well, I think it starts with presence. Like you've got to figure out how to stop living in fear of the future, fear of what might happen next, fear of what if people judge me? What if people aren't happy with me? What if I get fired? What if my spouse is unhappy? And we also have to like leave regret from the past. You can't beat yourself up for what if I failed and what do I do with this
Mm,
moment where I missed the mark? So the first specific coping skill that people can grab onto is the power of the present moment. Like we've got to live right here, right now. And that's the only way we're ever going to be intentional about
mm,
our lives.
yeah.
So,
How
you
do we
know,
tap into that? Like, what's your?
yeah,
I mean, I
good.
meditate.
I
I
mean,
think
that's
that's helped
actually
me.
that's the idea. I mean, I got a cold plunge. I know everybody's doing a cold plunge now. I fell for it and I got one. It's awesome, by the way. I love it. So I do a cold
You
plunge
do
every
that in the
morning,
morning? Yeah, in the morning.
every
Yeah.
morning, every morning. And when I get in the cold plunge, I put some music on. And the music that I put on is like inspiring music. It's not like gangster rap. Like this is like it's like decent music
Bit
that
of
sort of
rocky
is
music.
hopeful. It's like hopeful stuff. And I sit there in that cold plunge, and I've learned to breathe. That you sit in 39-degree water, it's going to help you learn to breathe.
Mm,
And I found that just taking 6, 7, 8 minutes in the morning, breathing, listening to something that's encouraging and inspiring, focusing. For me, I'm kind of a faith guy. So I think about, man, I'm a part of something bigger today
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
good with that and I'm cool
Yeah.
with that. And is, that's a very present moment activity. That's living in the moment. The
Mm.
other thing is, getting out in nature, that awe experience that I talked about. Like if you really want to learn how to live in a moment, get away from all that technology, take a hike, like go look at something beautiful. There's tons of research on the power of like sunrise, sunset, and watching that process. I live about 5 minutes from the beach. So one of the coolest things that I can do is go out to the beach and watch a sunrise.
Mm.
Waves are crashing in, right? Kind of that rhythmic thing is going on. The sun's creeping over the horizon. There, those are those moments, Lee, where it's easier for me to push everything to
Just
the side
grounding.
and just say, okay,
Yeah.
I can live right here, right now. So those are the kind of things that begin to calm your brain down from all that stimulation. Remember, I said the technology is
Yeah.
putting us in fear threat
Yeah.
mode. Once your brain is calm, the second coping skill that people can start to tap into is recognizing the negative thoughts and narratives that drive the negative emotion.
Hmm.
Thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to behavior. That's been demonstrated in the research over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So, what's filling your mind? When your brain is calm and you're not in fear threat anymore, your frontal lobe is back online. You can start to have some insight into what am I
Mm.
actually telling myself?
Mm.
What do I tell myself about me? What do I tell myself about what makes me acceptable and worthwhile and significant and valuable and lovable? And am I living that out minute by minute, moment by moment? And that narrative, that focus on the narrative is a huge piece of the puzzle. Every model of therapy that you can think of, cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavior therapy, acceptance and commitment therapy, all of those things are based on this connection between your thoughts, your thought life, your emotions, and your behavior. All those three things are very
Yeah.
interconnected and
Mm.
interrelated. So focusing on the positive, healthy thoughts, focusing on, mind, here's what my life is about. Here's what's important to me. Here's how I release outcomes and focus on the process and do the next healthy thing.
Yeah.
That kind of behavior is really, really powerful in a person's life.
Mm. Mm. When you break it down, it sounds so simple. I mean, it is simple, right?
Yeah.
It really is simple. Not simple to do, but simple, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But you look at that presence thing. I mean, we can all go sit there outside, go into nature somewhere, and
Hmm.
have that sense of space and solitude, you know. Um, and we can all focus on the thoughts. What are we consuming? And
Hmm.
not just food and things like that, but the information that we're consuming. We
Yep.
can we can become aware of what that is, which will then in time develop. And it could just start out very small, spending 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes in the afternoon just sitting outside.
Yeah. Man, I'm so glad you said that because that's a huge piece. We start to have this conversation, and I know it can get overwhelming for some people, and they think, "Oh, crap, I've got to go all in." When the truth is, if you string small changes together, it'll make a difference long term. And they've
Mm.
done all this research. So even like 5 minutes, an hour, if you're in your office and you're sitting down working on the computer and you've got 5 hours of work to do that day, that's just you're drilled into deep work. If you work in 1 hour increments and you work hard for 55 minutes and then you get up from that computer for 5 minutes, walk to a window and look at the clouds, look at a little bird flying around in the sky. It doesn't matter. Just get yourself in a position where I'm acknowledging,
Yeah.
there's something bigger than me. They've done all the research,
Yep.
Lee,
Mm.
and people get more done with the 55 minutes than they get done with the entire 60 minutes. Like at the
Yeah.
end of that 5 hours, they've accomplished more and they've
Mm.
worked less
Mm.
because the brain needs those moments of connecting to things that are bigger than we are. And it doesn't have to be grand gestures. It doesn't have to be huge principles that we implement immediately. It can be just little small shifts and changes.
Yeah, just taking the time. James Clear talked about it in his book with like exercising routine, just
Hmm.
having the shoes next to your bed and
Yeah.
putting them on in the morning. Going to the
Yeah.
pool and just committing to going to the pool, maybe putting your
Yeah.
leg in, and those things just
Yeah.
build in time. But I think, I
Yep.
mean, again, the problem is that we all want instant results. So giving yourself kindness and patience and like you said, connecting to that future, this is where I want to end up.
Hmm.
But being kind to yourself that it'll build in time, but it's not going to happen
Yep.
quickly. Um, Powerful stuff, mate. I'm going to share livewellcoaching.com is
Yeah. It's
your
livewell-coaching.com.
livewell dash.
That's the digital platform. And if you want more information like we talked about today, or if you want those practical strategies, because that's kind of what you brought us to, Lee, in the
Yeah,
interview, is
yeah,
you kind of
yeah,
came down to brass tacks of like, well, what do we do differently?
yeah,
That's what LiveWell Coaching is. It's
yeah,
full of very specific strategies and coping skills that people can utilize to create change in their life. So we've got stuff
brilliant.
on there on, how do you change your mindset? How do you have healthy relationships? How do you manage stress? How do you deal with anxiety? How do you develop emotional intelligence? Like, how do I connect to gratitude in my life? We have stuff on all of that, man. So, if people are interested in developing coping skills, live well coaching is that's we made that for you, right? This is something that's very practical where we give you information every day that is just chock full of the practical strategies that you can utilize and begin to make just little small changes in your life.
Yeah, yeah. And I didn't mention this, but the reason why I like this tool, because it's worked for me, and I don't know what the download is every day that you could do it, but it's a free
Yeah.
trial for 7 days, which I like. But just committing to 5, 10, 15 minutes a day of I'd call this growth activity
Yeah.
is so powerful. If you can, and it's just, even if it's not registering or it doesn't make sense to you, something will click. Everything clicks eventually. And I've found that myself, just by waking up and listening to some motivational podcast, someone inspirational, whatever it might be, that change in dialogue that's going in had a massive
Yeah.
change. And I learned things along the way. I go, oh, okay, I'll try that. And I've tried freaking everything after running this podcast for 10 years, all the different forms of mindfulness, meditation, jogging,
Yeah.
hot bath, and I just slowly do it and adapt it to what feels good for me and what works.
Well, I think what we've tried to do with Live Well Coaching is to curate the information. I think there's so much information out there right now. Like you and I
Yeah.
could jump on Chat GPT and say, how do I cope with stress? And most of what Chat GPT gives you is awesome, but none of it is curated. So what we've done is we've kind of taken all the information,
Mm.
but then we provide it to you in little kind of consumable chunks that make it doable. So on in addition to all the courses and all the challenges that we have, this whole catalog of things, we also provide daily content. So every Monday, we give you content on how to have develop coping skills for depression. On Tuesdays, we tell you how to deal with anxiety and stress. On Wednesdays, we talk about just general wellness techniques and how you can live well. On Thursdays, we talk about addiction, not just drugs and alcohol. We're talking about addiction to technology and addiction to pornography and addiction to gambling and addiction to food and addiction to people pleasing. Then on Friday, we talk about healthy relationships, which we know is such a huge part of healthy living. So
Mm.
every day you get something new on Live Well Coaching, but then it's all on demand, man. If someone decides they want to lean into stress, they could go on Live Well Coaching and say, I'm going to do Mike's stress relief for life course. And I tell you, in that course, I give you every coping skill that I give someone in a course of psychotherapy over the course of about 16 weeks. And you'll have
Yeah.
access to it on demand to say, okay, first I have to learn how to calm my brain and my body down. And then I have to look at the connection between thoughts and feelings and behavior. And
That's
then I have to
great.
understand my core beliefs. And then I have to
Mm.
like look at exercise and diet, nutrition. All the stuff is there, but you
Yeah.
consume it at your convenience.
Mm. How do you find, just last question, sorry, but obviously we're getting Mike and all that experience and knowledge on a digital platform here.
Yeah.
Have you noticed any difference in applications from face to face with Mike and digital application? Like, what are the challenges people might be needing to be aware of there?
Yeah. So it's a thing of intensity and presence, right?
Hmm.
So if you're talking about psychotherapy, someone that your anxiety and your depression is at a level where you feel like, man, I'm like down and I'm not functioning and I'm just not happy. And therapy is awesome. Therapy can really work. And we do
Mm.
all that stuff in our clinics. We bring people from all over the country, man, to get treatment at our clinics. Sometimes they spend 4 or 5 hours a day at our offices for, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, and then they go home. Um, and there's value to being present with people to do that. It's like going to a sporting event. If you go to,
Yeah.
I'm a big Florida Gators football
No.
fan. And so I go to these football games. I'm telling you, Lee, I don't know if you've ever been to a Florida Gators college football game, but
No.
it's probably one of the most exciting things you could ever go to. It's electric. The fans are crazy. I mean, these guys, people are out of control. It's wild. I could watch that on TV. Why do I go? It takes me I have to drive there for 2 hours. I have to park the car. I have to walk to the, it's a kind of a hassle. I'd get a better view on TV. Why do I go there? Because there's something really different and something
Yeah. Yeah.
powerful about being
Yeah.
in the presence of someone. So if you really need therapy, I'm just a big believer in the idea that
Yeah.
being with someone helps motivate, encourage, affirm.
Yeah.
But there are a whole other group of people where at this point you don't have the time or energy to get to therapy.
Mm.
Maybe you're just at a point where it's like, okay, I'm struggling, but it's not at the level where I feel like I need to go actually like put in the time of an hour a week. And that's where LiveWell Coaching comes in,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you can have access to the same information, but you can execute it on your timeline.
Mm.
The other
Mm.
thing that I think I should mention is, if you want to have another person on the end of that technology, we do have coaches. They don't do therapy with people, but they do help you create wellness plans, and they can talk to you on the phone. And we do
Right.
about, I think, a couple sessions a month for a coach, and they'll help you begin to kind of recognize, okay, here's what I need to work on, and I'm feeling kind of stressed out, and here's the strategies that I need to implement to deal with stress, and here's the parts of the digital platform that I can lean into, and here's the course that I can take. And then your coach will ask you questions about the course and how you doing, and are you implementing the strategies. It can be really, really helpful.
Mm. Mm.
But there's just different
It's finding your
different
level, I suppose. Yeah.
yeah, it's finding what's going to work for you.
But bloody great conversation. Thank you for sharing. Hope everyone's listening's got a lot out of it too. Make sure you reach out to Mike. I'll put the links in the show notes for this episode as well. Mike, any final thoughts? Any departing thoughts?
Man, I guess my final thought for everybody would be, man, do whatever you've got to do to be intentional about your life. Execute on the stuff we've talked about today. Don't let life happen to you. Don't watch this podcast and be like, well, that was cool information. That was awesome. And then move on. Allow yourself to say, okay, wait, if nothing changes, nothing
Yeah.
changes. I'm going to do something different. If you
Mm.
don't go to LiveWell Coaching, go somewhere, get some information somewhere to help you begin to make the shift so you can live the life you've always wanted to live.
Mm. Mm. Love it. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. We'll share with the audience the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. The show notes are on thehiddenwhy.com, so check out the show notes there and the links to Mike as well. And until next time, peace, passion, and purpose. See you soon. Okay, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in this week to this interview. I hope you enjoyed the conversation we had. Make sure you check it out at thehiddenwhy.com for the show notes and links to our guest. And if you have any comments, any suggestions for the show, please make sure you reach out as well. Also, would like to just ask a favor. If you do like what you're listening to, if you love what you're hearing, make sure you subscribe. Whether you're listening to this on iTunes, wherever it might be, subscribe to the podcast so you can stay up to date with all the latest episodes, and some exciting changes happening this year at The Hidden Why, including the launch of our new website, which will be updated very soon. So watch this space for that, guys. And once again, live more fully, have more meaning, find more joy. We'll see you around the next interview.